Hello and welcome to the Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
And welcome to your new home of everything not top six. Tired of your team being last on match of the day, not getting the flowers they deserve? Well, that's about to change.
Coming up on today's episode, we're handing out our awards for the 24-25 season. We've got some classics, your best player, best manager. We've got some fresh awards, actual youngster of the years and some seasoned veterans. And we've got some spicier awards, best shithouse and flop of the season. How was your weekend, Alex?
Yeah, it was a heavy one. As you know, I was away at a festival from basically Wednesday till Monday. And I'd fully planned for it to be cold and wet because it was like meant to thunderstorm on a couple of days. It ended up being like 30-degree heat the whole time. So yeah, I was not prepared and just absolutely like sweating out in the tent, too many beers, and by the end of it I was feeling my age like for once. Like it was hard being 30 at a festival. Like I wasn't bouncing back like I used to.
I can tell you for sure that being at a hotter festival is better than being at a rainy, muddy festival, but it's just a different kind of pain. Like I've done Glastonbury's where it's been like 30 degrees and it's just like everyone cowering into like the tiniest bit of shade possible. And
Like, that's it, isn't it? It was like me and my mate were basically lying there drinking all day, and it'd get to like about 7 o'clock, and it'd be like, "Oh, the heat stroke's kind of gone now. I guess we can go out and do something."
we can get off the floor. But I'm glad you had a good time. I've seen some clips from the festival and it looked decent.
Yeah, it was Download Festival for anyone that was interested. And yeah, it was a much better vibe than I thought it was going to be. And it was like, the bands were great. Yeah, just had a good weekend all around. What about yourself? What did you get up to?
Yeah, I had a good weekend. Obviously, enjoyed some of the weather. Went down to Brighton for a couple of days with the missus. She did the Seven Sisters hike along the south, along the cliffs between like Eastbourne and Seaford. She hiked like 12k, went through it all, and whilst I was on Brighton Beach having some non-alcoholic beers and fish and chips. But yeah, wanted to give her a shout out for that. Yeah, that was my weekend.
That's a pretty perfect weekend, actually. I wish I was, well, I was doing probably that much walking, but I was just walking from bar to bar pretty much.
Yeah,
God,
yeah, it was good.
nice, cool. Should we get into some football bits then?
Yeah, we've got some news since we last recorded. So, got a couple of news items that we want to hit before we get on to the awards. The first one off is seemingly the only managerial change this summer. It's been a quiet change on that front, but Thomas Frank has left Brentford. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, I guess I was going to say I found it a bit mad and she got sacked, but I don't really want to talk about Tottenham in that way. So I think it's more just about Brentford. Did they let him go? Did he? Honestly, I haven't really looked too far into it, in honesty, because I've been basically not sober for
Away.
the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from what I've been reading up, Frank has been sort of angling for a bigger job. Well, I
Mm.
say bigger job, like one of the more known teams, that like one of the sort of the big six. I think he was really interested in the United job a couple of years ago, and that rubbed a few people in Brentford up the wrong way. Like I think Thomas Frank has got a lot of credit in the bank, especially with Brentford fans. Like what he's done for Brentford is rightfully got him loads of plaudits. But there was definitely a few murmurings from what I've read that Frank had been needling his way for what he deemed a bigger job for a couple of years, and that rubbed up a couple of people the wrong way. So it might be a situation where they're sort of like it was the right time to part. He's been their manager for several years now, so
Do you think that's why he was doing quite a lot of media in the last few years as well? Because he did was it the World Cup he was on, or was it the Euros? God, I can't even remember. What was it?
yeah,
It
it
was
was
the
the
Euros, wasn't
Euros
it?
last year, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely puts him in the public eye a little bit more, and like makes like some of the probably the owners and that see them in a different light, especially someone
Yeah.
like Daniel Levy. But it's really interesting, sort of like reading up on who Brentford are going to replace him with, because I think they really wanted his assistant Justin Cochrane to take charge, but he's followed Frank to Tottenham. So it looks pretty set on at the moment, and it might be confirmed by the time this is out that Keith Andrews, who's been their set piece coach and used to play for Blackburn back in sort of the mid 2000s, that he's going to take over as the full-time manager. There were rumours of Scott Parker and the guy from uh, the guy who's in charge of that Swedish team, Knutsen.
No,
Um,
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll be
yeah,
honest.
escaped me for now. But yeah, there were a couple of names in charge. But interestingly, Brentford have gone back to what they did with Thomas Frank, and they've hired within, because Thomas Frank was Dean Smith's assistant when he was at Brentford and left for Aston Villa
Well,
way back when now.
that's the thing for him, isn't it? I think this is the first time their model's actually going to get properly tested in the Premier League, isn't it? Because they came up with Thomas Frank, didn't they?
Yep.
Not,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's the first time that model's actually going to get tested, and everyone's like, "We want to be the Brentford model." I mean, I think our club, my club's definitely like tried to base on that model of buying players, and it's more about the system, and the manager's more like a what's the word I'm looking for? The manager's more of a coach of that system that comes in and plays the
Yeah.
way that like a technical. Not technical, sorry, a sporting director lays the team out. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they do that. Like Scott Park would be, I don't think he'd be the right appointment for Brentford because he'd
No,
come in with some
no.
ideas.
The Brentford Reddit weren't happy about that suggestion. That safe to say. But yeah, no, it'd be really interesting to see to see if it is Keith Andrews and see how he does. Like as you say, that model of sort of buying younger, unproven players or and then selling them on for profit has worked well for Brentford, as well as a couple of other teams in recent years. But they haven't had to do it at a managerial level for a while. So it's like, do they have the same setup ready? Is Keith Andrews ready to take on that sort of role? It'll be really interesting. We'll have to wait and find out. But I definitely thought it was worth touching on.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to, for Brentford fans' sake, I'm trying to look at it in a more positive light rather than being like losing manager and maybe losing like top goal scorer of the season. But I think with the system in place, with a manager or someone that knows already, they'll probably still have a good season, still have an okay
I
season.
think that's the thing. I think that's the positive outlook on it is you have to trust what Brentford have done in recent years.
Yeah,
And okay,
exactly.
we've not seen managerial turnover like that in recent seasons, but they've done it on a player level. So you have to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. And whilst it is unfortunate to lose your manager and probably your best player, it's something that they've replaced players in the past. Can they do it at a managerial level? We'll wait
Yeah,
and see. But from a Brentford perspective, I think you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt and trust in the process at the moment.
yeah, I'd agree. So, do you also want to talk about some signings? Because did we have the mini window open and close to help all the top six and bigger teams around the world before the,
Yeah,
I'm not even going to say its name, but before the stupid tournament that's going on?
yeah. Well, someone who's not in the tournament, but it is in the other 14, have taken advantage of that early window, and Brighton have made some moves. They've signed a young, big striker from Greece called Kostulas. He's been really highly rated youngster. He's only been sort of playing professional level for about a year and a half, 2 years now, and he's got a moderate goal scoring record for Olympiacos, but he has been really highly touted, been linked with loads of clubs across Europe, and watching some clips of him earlier. He's for a big man, he's good with his feet. He does seem to have an eye for goal. Obviously, some of those came at B level sort of thing, but he seems like a decent prospect. They have another young striker who they signed from Nuremberg that they signed in January to come in and loaned him back. So he's to come in the summer as well. Whether Costellas stays and plays a bit part or goes out on loan, we'll wait and see. But interesting that Brighton have been able to get a young name of his stature. They've paid a pretty decent price of about 30 to 35 million for him. And the bigger news would probably be something that we've kind of touched upon in recent when we were discussing Brighton towards the end of the season was their how they were going to restructure their defence, and they've gone for Coppola from Hellas Verona, who seems like a very aggressive defender. The clips I was watching of him, he was just on the floor all the time, making proper slide tackles or like last man, last ditch sort of tackles. But we know they needed to get a few bodies in. I think they've obviously got their eyes on a couple of others. I think there's a free transfer from PSV and that's supposed to be coming as well. So obviously with Lewis Dunk being 33, Joe Veltman is on his way. They needed bodies in the back line, and one thing that Brighton fans won't be happy to hear is I've seen rumours that Jan-Paul van Hecker has been linked with Newcastle today. So that they'll be hoping that they'll be bringing someone in to partner Van Hecker, not to replace him.
Yeah, that's how it always seems to be, in all honesty, as well, though. It's just hard keeping on to your best players. I'd love to say I know much about those Brighton signings, but with many Brighton signings, I have no idea who they are, but they always end up being really good against us.
Yeah, you'll
So,
know
yeah,
you'll know about these players in a couple of years when they're banging them in and probably getting rated like 100 million transfer fees slapped on them and stuff. So, you know, Brighton and they've proved it time and time again. They know how to scout. So will be interesting to see what happens with those two players. And then lastly, on the sort of transfer news, it seems like Bournemouth have signed their Milos Kerkez replacement in Adrien Truffert, who I haven't watched too much of the French league in recent years, but was on my radar a few years ago when I signed him for my FIFA team. So I won't go into analysis on him based on FIFA 23, but yeah, it seems like they've signed their Kirk as replacement before he's left for seemingly Liverpool. But yeah,
but no, it is crazy getting that little business in beforehand. I mean, for once, I've not really noticed the rumour mill was going too crazy online about people evil, which has been quite nice. I think everyone's just kind of taking a step back from it and being like, yeah, let's get this little window over with, get this stupid tournament over with, and then all the madness will probably begin.
yeah, I don't think that teams outside of the tournament have been that bothered about getting players in because a lot of them are probably off on their holidays or just sort of like regrouping, getting their transfer activity ready for the summer rather than desperately trying to get someone in, as some of these FIFA tournament teams have been trying to do. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see a lot of craziness over the summer though.
Yeah, I think final thing to touch on before we go to a break. Fixtures have obviously come out this morning. I hope this was a big day for you when you were working with me, when we used to work, where it was all pressure on to make sure
Yeah,
it was all working correctly.
all pressure,
Yeah,
waiting for them to come through.
I was just gonna say, who have you got first and last game? And any stood out to you at all?
We've got Sunderland in the first game, so yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. I'm quite glad we always seem to get one of the top six or like a really tough like home fix a really tough fixture. So I'm quite glad that we've been able to get Sunderland and like see a new team, like get a first glimpse at them, and then we've got Leeds on the last day of the season, so another promoted team. Yeah, be interesting. I've had a look. Our December looks pretty tough, but other than that it's fairly balanced throughout the season. What about Palace?
I was going to say you got two banana skins, one at the beginning and one at the end of the season for you.
Oh yeah, we'll lose both of them.
I know we got Chelsea away on the first day of the season, which I'm away for in America, so I'm not too upset about that one. And then we finished with Arsenal at home, which I've had a lot of my mates who are Arsenal fans message me like, "Oh, you're going to get to see a team lift the trophy on the last day of the season again." And I was just like, "No, we're
Oh,
probably going to relegate you, mate." But
we'll see.
the only top bit I've yeah, the only tough bit I've seen is that we have Newcastle away on the 3rd of January and like Sunderland away on the 17th of January or something. So that's going to be a bit hairy for my bank account that month, especially after New Year's and Christmas and everything. But yeah,
Yeah, two trips to the north.
should we take a break then and then get into our awards for the year?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, and we're back after a little bit of sweating and moving around laptops because I think mine is overheating beyond belief right now. Are we going to get stuck into our awards? And I've pulled something special together for the awards. Ah, I've got myself a little tie to wear.
Unfortunately, I don't own a tie, but there we go. Alex has got his Crystal Palace tie on for us.
I need a reason to wear it. I bought it and never worn it before because I have no use for an actual tie either.
Yeah, because your partner won't let you leave the house with a Crystal Palace tie.
That's actually it. So cool. Okay, where do you want to start with awards then, Tom? Should we start maybe with players because we've obviously done our team of the season already, so it might be a little bit of like overlap, but it'd be nice just to box that all off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of an overlap because it felt like we couldn't really pick a player that wasn't in our team of the season. So
Right. Us.
yeah, I've got a few down that we can obviously discuss. Pretty much they're all names we mentioned last week.
Mate, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I could like deep dive into it more, but I was like, how the hell are we gonna like say,
We
oh,
can't really
that's the
justify
thing
it,
that
can
I
we?
do. Yeah, there's no way, is there? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all right. So one name that wasn't on the in the team of the season that I wanted to mention was Johan Visser. Like we spoke about him a little bit last week, and I think just really like the stat that really impressed me was how many like that he didn't score he didn't have a penalty this season because Embuemo takes them, and for him to get as many goals as he did, like I think Visser really stepped up to the plate this year, and there's even rumours about him moving on. So Brentford fans will be hoping that won't happen as well. But yeah, I really think Johan Visser deserves a lot of flowers for his season. He's not really been like touted as like a replacement for Ivan Toney or anything, but I think he's really stepped up to the plate. So he's a name that I would throw into the like have in the mix at least.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree with you. I feel like with a lot of like pundits and even with us, it wasn't like a pick between the two, but if you include in Buemo, you're probably not including Visser in your team either as well, are you? And he's always been a player in like Palace's side. In all honesty, like he's always scored against us. I feel, and he's always remember there's one specific last minute winner he scored against us at Sellers, which was heartbreaking. And yeah, he stood out massively, and he was just doing what Embuemo always does, but I guess Embuemo was just doing it a bit classier, maybe, or just a bit more noticeable with it. Because they both got what about 20, Burma got 20 odd goals. Vissa ended up with about 12, 15, was it? Do
I
you know
think it
by
was
any
more
chance?
than that. Yeah, I think he got like I think he was close to 20. I think it was about 18 in the end. Like
Yeah.
I think it was yeah, 19 Premier League goals last season. So like and none of them were penalties. So I just think that's pretty impressive. And as you say, we can talk about Mbeumo a little bit because he's definitely going to be on the list. Like 20 goals, 7 assists was it? I think we were talking last week and obviously he was the key player for Brentford this season. Like everything flowed through Mbeumo. He's really stepped up and become like a superstar for another 14 team. Like really impressive season as well from Embuemo and you can't talk about one without talking about the other. I don't think this season they combined so well.
No, and that's exactly it. And I've just noticed your list in your notes as well. So I've seen we're very, very similar. I might talk about someone who's not on your list. I just want to give goalkeeper some flowers this year as well. Like Sells from Nottingham Forest. I feel like he needs to like a note because a goalkeeper never really can't even remember the last time goalkeeper got player of the season. So I
Yeah, it's
wanted
always I've gone very forward heavy with mine because it's obviously generally what who gets the player of the season. So yeah, go ahead, give Sels some flowers.
Yeah, I think we talked about in pod 2 weeks ago, but absolute brick wall at the back. He gave that Forest team a foundation to build from, and the whole spine of it built from that. And he kept him in games. Yeah, he's just good. And I hope he keeps it going next season because we also said, I think, in that pod, we weren't really expecting him to be able to pull it off and be that good a keeper for him. So yeah, just well done, Sells, in your season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he keeps it up next season, but absolutely had a quality season. And then another player on my short list in the Forest team as well is Chris Wood. Like again, he just missed out on our team of the season to another player we'll come on to, but what Wood was doing for so many months of the season and then just sort of slightly tailed off towards the end was so impressive. Like and really like Chris Wood's been around the block a little bit for a few years, like had time at Leeds, like Newcastle, etc. And like just sort of aging like fine wine a little bit. Like he's not a flashy striker. He's not like particularly like appealing as like a like fashionable striker, but proper like old school and just like knows where the back of the net is and smashed in goals for Forest and especially in the early part of the season.
But he's just big number nine, isn't he? I mean, that might be a bit of disrespect to him because he was quite good with his feet this year. But like I say, I mean, when he scored that hat trick against Newcastle a couple of years ago, it was like, oh shit, like that's a one off. And then it feels like he took that form and built that across a whole season rather than into just one game. So yeah, definitely deserves it. I see on your list you got Cunha as well from Wolves. I think we should go to him because I think we're probably going to agree on who is probably our player of the season after this.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Mateus Cunha, I think, was just like an absolute firecracker for Wolves this season. Like, obviously, he's earned a big money move that's got Wolves a lot of money to reinvest in the squad. But what Cunha did, he really put it together for a player who's bounced around Europe for a few years and has always been like a talent, but and always had an eye for a crazy goal, which he's on the list. We'll get to in a bit about goal of the season as well because he scored a banger as well as some others. But yeah, I think Mateus Cunha was really just sort of lighting things up, especially like in that early part of the season under Gary O'Neill, where Wolves were pretty turgid to watch at times and like real struggling, and like they all just looked to Cunha and went, "Can you get us out of this hole?" Or they really relied on some magic from him to sort of set them up to get any of the points that they had at that point. And then when Pereira came in, they started like that. A few more of the other players started chipping in and building around, and he started like developing a good partnership with Strand Larsen up top and stuff. So definitely, I think just Cunha like had his best season of his career so far, and another one. It'll be really interesting. He's a prime age to sort of kick on now, but obviously he's left Wolves, so we don't care about where he's kicking on to. But yeah, he had his best season, and I'm sure he had left a lot of memories with Wolves this season as well.
Yeah, talking about him lighting up. Have you seen the Instagram video, or just like social that's gone out of him back in Brazil playing five aside?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's class.
I messaged my girlfriend's family because they were United fans. I was like, "That's just what you want to see a new signing doing, like breaking his ankle playing five aside in Brazil before the season
Yeah, he's going
starts."
to tear his ACL or something and be like out for the season.
Can you imagine Wolves just be there like, "Yes, we did it just at
Yes,
the right time."
cash.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah, and then let's go on to your player then.
so yeah, I think my player of the season. I mean, I don't know how long we have to praise him for because we praised him quite a lot. I think in our team of the season, but it's Isaac from Newcastle. Just think he was just consistently good throughout the season. I think that consistently good also almost makes him make goals unnoticed because he's just expected to put in like an 8 out of 10 every game, and yeah, it just has to be taken into consideration that he's the best striker outside of the top six. I think maybe
Yeah, it's
best.
interesting. It's interesting because I was probably leaning in Buemo for my player of
Right.
the season,
Okay.
and I think that the point you just made around people have come to expect it of Isaac to have these 8 out of 10s and to be scoring 20 plus goals regularly when like Newcastle haven't had a proper 20 plus goal striker for a few years since before Isaac sort of turned up like a consistent 20 plus goal striker. I don't
I
know
don't
if
think
Wilson
so.
ever got there.
I don't think Wilson. You're going back to Demba Ba and Papa Cisse. Is it that far back?
Possibly. Yeah, and even
Jeez.
then did they get 20 or did they just like combination like in the
They must have
teens
got
sort of
20 in that.
thing?
They must have got 20 in that Alan Pardew season when they got Champions League. Surely,
Possibly, but that's
maybe.
been many years since then. It feels like
Yeah.
yesterday, but there's quite a few years since then. So maybe I'm doing Isaac a bit of a disservice by leaning in Buemo because it's like Isaac's done this for a couple of years and I almost expect it of him at this point, whereas Buemo really lit it up this season, so it felt like more of a new thing. But for me, it's neck and neck, and to be honest, I'll cede to you that Isaac like I I'll I won't be unhappy that Isaac has won player of the season, our other 14 player of the season at all. I think he had an excellent season, constant threat for Newcastle. They absolutely missed him when they didn't have him playing. Like Wilson struggled this season to replicate Isaac's form. I'm more than happy to go with Isaac here.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. To be fair, neither of them have left their club yet. I was going to say maybe in Brown because he's probably not going to be in a top in a other 14 side for a bit longer. But Oh, I don't know.
But then I also think that Isaac powered Newcastle as well as one of their key players powered them to Champions League football,
Yeah,
which
yeah, okay,
but like Brentford, it's not Mbuemo's fault that they didn't achieve like a trophy or a European place, but I think that also plays a part into it. Isaac was really important for a team that battled amongst a lot of the other teams and came out with a Champions League spot. So I think
yeah,
on that front as well, like that's one of the many factors. I think I'd tip it to Isaac.
yeah. I'll take that all day long then. Give him a little applause. There we go. Cool. Okay, so
Cool.
should we move on to manager of the season now?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of names for this one. Some for small periods, some for long periods. What about you?
Yeah, similar. I've got two on my short list, I think, but I probably should have had a bit more. I've got my one who I think's nailed on for me to be my number one, and I've got one who I think definitely needs to be mentioned because of what he did when he came in. And actually, there's probably two should have that status actually, but I feel like one a bit stronger. So maybe I'll start with the latter one. I would just
Yeah,
want to give
yeah.
like David Moyes a mention for Everton
Interesting.
because I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were dead to rights to go down when he came in because if Sean Dyche couldn't sort it out, I was like, who's going to be the firefighter that just keeps them like from not going down. And then Moyes comes in and he doesn't just like keep them up like playing dreadful football and just like blocking games out. He gets them winning games. I think they went on what six unbeaten or something, and four like wins in a row, including they pretty much demolished us at Sellers Park. Even though it was like 2-1, it was like we're getting ripped apart by this team who were shit like 3 weeks ago. So I think
Yeah,
it's
I
time
mean
around.
Moyes proper turned Everton around this season. Like he's definitely on my short list and deserves a lot of credit for the job that he did at Everton. Like I think he not even just the results on the pitch, but also just getting that connection back to the fans. Like
Yeah,
it seemed
yeah,
it seemed pretty toxic between Dyche and Everton to a certain point. Like everything that I saw from Everton fans was they were almost miserable going to Goodison Park. Like they were just going because obligation as like a fan, like proper like I will turn up regardless of what is being put out there. And it was some pretty turgid football being put out there. So for Moyes to come in and he proper just got that connection back, which in the last season at Goodison Park was so important as well. Like I think to have that memories of the like positive memories towards the end of the season of your home for so many years. Like I think Moyes deserves a lot of credit for having that as well as the on the pitch results as well.
yeah, exactly that. And I think if we move on to another manager I wanted to include in that, Pereira at Wolves, another one looked bang to rights to be done, and then he completely turned it around and turned them into a team that probably, I mean, it's hard to say if he'd been there the whole season, but you're looking maybe at a top half finish with what they were doing. They had players like Cunha, players like Strand Larson, all firing at the right time and all just like, well, they're dominating teams at times, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they had that crazy run, and that's why I've included him in manager of the season as well. Like, obviously, he only took over in January time, I believe, maybe late December, early January sort of time, and he really turned Wolves around because I thought they looked more dead and buried than Everton at a certain point, like where before Pereira came in, and I think he got a lot of the other players playing up to a level that they would expect from Premier League players, where I was looking through that squad before Pereira took over and was going, a lot of these don't feel like Premier League standard players, like or they're slightly over the hill or a bit too young and naive, like that don't have the experience of the league and such. And he got them absolute firing, and obviously that run was really special, like
Mate,
incredible.
it's not even just like they don't look like Premier League players. Do you not remember there was a period where they were literally just fighting after games, like fighting between
Yeah.
themselves, fighting assistant managers, like fighting other players. Like it was a shambles. Like and you got
Yeah,
to
well,
wonder
that
how.
Mario Lemina was their captain at the start of the season. He had an absolute nightmare of a season, and that ended up getting replaced by a couple of Brazilian midfielders in João Gomes and Andre, and Pereira got them absolutely firing with those in.
Yeah, it's just that, isn't it? So it's a complete turnaround. But yeah, I might let you blitz through another few of your honourable mentions before I think
Yeah,
who we think number one is.
yeah. let me go through a couple that I think had really impressive seasons and I think Eddie Howe absolutely needs to be in the running because what he's done at Newcastle, I think a lot of Newcastle like like fans and pundits have almost been since they had their takeover thinking Eddie Howe was almost like a
Yeah,
bridge
stepping stone
manager.
to Mourinho is
Yeah,
next
and then they might
level.
get the Mourinho of the world or
Yeah,
something, and like some sort of like Champions League pedigree manager. And what Eddie Howe has done at Newcastle has been so impressive, and he's like working with expensive, talented players and getting the absolute best of them and improving them as well. Like I've seen strides in Sandro Tonali's game that he's come on since his AC Milan's and Brescia days, and like Bruno Guimaraes, he's got the beating heart of Newcastle. Isak's coming on year by year. He's looking like the best striker in the league. Like what he got out of Jacob Murphy this season was incredible. Like with obviously Anthony Gordon was in and out of the team. Like Harvey Barnes stepped up this season. Like I think Eddie Howe just really had them clicking. So definitely, and I think with all the defensive injuries that they had to be able to achieve a Champions League finish was really impressive. So Eddie Howe's on my list for sure. Another one who did a really impressive job, but one who slightly missed out on Europe was Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth. I think what he's done at Bournemouth has been really impressive because like Bournemouth for so many years they've been up and down. Like their years in the Premier League have been a little bit like nothingness a bit for me. Like they've just sort of like they've been in the bottom half of the table and they've just been trying to fight for survival sort of thing. Like even under Eddie Howe they were okay. They could mix it up a little bit, but I think Iraola's got them playing like really, really nice football and mixing sort of like a real good blend of foreign talent with like homemade talent, people like Alex Scott mixing with like Evan Nilsson up front, like players that they had in the squad, like Antoine Semenyo mixing it up with Evan Nilsson or down the left with Milos Kerkez and stuff. So Iraola is definitely one that I think the football that he's brought to the South Coast has been really impressive and
it
definitely deserves a name on the
definitely
list.
it definitely has been. I think it's the first time where I've looked at Bournemouth and just been like, oh, this is like a fun intro. Not like they were boring before, but it was like they're very much like like a Palace or like a Everton at the moment, or just like Brentford. It's like, oh, the best we're really going to do is between like maybe ninth and staying up. Well, ninth and 17th each season. And this year was like, shit, Bournemouth are playing great football. They've got some like proper talented players, and they're going away to places like Old Trafford and picking up
Old
big wins.
Trafford, Emirates, like they got some really big wins this season. So I think Iraola deserves a lot of credit for that. And then one name that I am surprised you haven't mentioned, Ollie Glasner.
Mm.
Like,
I was,
I know you are the pessimistic fan, and you think his early part of the season should write him off, but he delivered a trophy to Crystal Palace. Like
yeah,
I think he deserves a mention in manager of the season because especially as a tournament manager, he's unreal.
yeah, tournament manager. It's unbelievable. Like he does all those things that you're taught as like, I don't even know if it's a pessimistic fan or maybe just you're taught as like an English fan. He did all the things in the tournament football that you're not meant to do. He was like, yeah, we're going to play the best team. And it's like, oh, we got a Premier League game 2 days before. Yeah, we're going to play our best team. And he's basically gone from, I can't remember who he was managing, but he was managing in Germany and he played like a weak strength team the game before the cup game, lost that, then lost the cup game to go to the lower league side. And it was just there like, yeah, this is a mistake. I'm not going to do it again. But I don't know why. We had the best season we've ever had like in our lives. Like points tally was the highest in like modern Premier League time. But it was that beginning of the season where I can't forget it because there was a bit where it was getting dicey. I don't think he was ever close to like getting the axe, but it wasn't good. Like I don't think he put enough of a whole season together, get the cup run out of it. I don't think he put enough of that whole season together for me to be like, yeah, he's my manager of the season. I mean, cup run in there, manager of the season, manager of the century, in all honesty. But no, I think we both probably settle. Well, no, actually, you got one more. You got two managers left in your list, I see. So I'll see
No,
which
no,
one.
no, no. I've gone through them all. I've gone
Have
through.
you gone through?
We've got one manager left that we both haven't spoken about, who I
Yeah,
think everyone knows who we're going to be
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, so it's got to be Nuno Espirito Santos for me. Basically, a lot of like how Forest have done this season is definitely up there for me. Going in there and just like I think a lot of people were expecting him to flop straight off the bat, which he didn't. But then one major thing is just like he's probably had to deal with absolute fucking batshit craziness from Marcus behind the scenes. And he seemed like the coolest, calmest individual, like in press conferences and everything. And he's just got the team going throughout. I feel for him those last few games or those last few months where it's just there, like it didn't fall apart because he still got Conference League, but it could have been so much more. But I think for what he still did, the most unexpected like thing to happen in the whole of the season. Do you agree?
100, yeah, 100%. I think the amount of difference of like where people were predicting them or where anyone expected Forest to be finishing in the league to where they actually finished, and also where they were fighting for most of the season. Like they were fighting for Champions League right up into the final day of the season. They got the Conference League qualification.
Yeah,
Like
people were talking about them winning the league at one point. That's how
yeah,
mental it
they were
was.
in the title race, and it was
Yeah,
like, and it wasn't like even you had to put them in there because they were like a point behind Arsenal at one point, or
yeah,
like it was like, no, you act like if you don't put them in there, you're doing a real disservice to Nuno and Forest as a club. Like, but yeah, I think he, especially in those first several months, as you say, it tailed off a little bit towards the end with some injuries, but the football that he had them playing was really direct but really exciting. So like it wasn't like sit back and just like pump it long. It was like fast paced, quick movements with like Gibbs White, Elanga, and Hudson Odoi, and then putting on the finishing touch was Chris Wood. But he also had a rock solid defense with like Sells, Murillo, Milenkovic, Aina, and Williams, and yeah, I think he had them really clicking, and Nuno especially deserves it. I think after a few seasons in like a weird career for Nuno, where like obviously he had so much credit in the bank with Wolves. He went to Spurs, and that was a nightmare situation it seemed. And then I think he pitched up at a Saudi SPL team for a while before he went back before Forest came calling. So, and I think everyone when he got the Forest job thought, all right, he'll probably keep them up in the Premier League, maybe. Like that felt like the ceiling at the time. And for him this season, absolutely manager of the season for me.
100%. And one thing with like the manager of the season award, I hate that like Premier League or like pundit wise, it always comes down to who won the title because there's
Mm,
so many bigger achievements for managers having to do stuff with like much less riches, and I think Nuno like proved that as well. It's yeah, so yeah, I'll happily give that to him.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, what do you want to move on to next? Do you want to do our goal of the season or young player of the season? Then we have like all the player ones done. Oh no, we got more.
No, we've got some more player ones. Let's do goal of the season.
Okay, goal of season. We have a lot here, and I also have a lot. I'm trying to see which ones we kind of like overlap with, but
Well, I know what my one to be the winner would be, but then like there's probably another couple that we want to mention. So like I think one that I would like to mention is the Harry Wilson winner for the first in of the two games, the home game for Fulham versus Brentford. I think the flick from the outside of the boot looping into like the far corner of the goal. I think that's just such a it's a very unique goal. Like you don't see that very often. I think when I was like looking up goal of the season and like rewatching some of them, a lot of them felt very impressive but very similar. Like a lot
yeah,
of like long range curling efforts, but they were like, oh, I've seen that one like two or three times. Okay, still really impressive, but I didn't see anyone do Harry Wilson's this season.
yeah. So I think Harry Wilson's was it was even my number one or two. So you've taken that one straight away because, like you say, that little flick over you, they're like, oh shit, how did that actually go in? But then I'll just reel some off that, like the curling efforts you talked about. It's like the CISO against Everton was like that. The Belieber one against you, the Clivert one versus Brighton as well. There's loads of those like curling ones that are going in, and they it probably takes them away because we've been sat there looking at them like one after the other, like these couple of compilation videos.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, you put
fuck.
them in a row and they're not as impressive, but like if you just when you're just watching the game, they're so impressive. But I think one maybe a bit out of the left field that you might not be happy about me bringing up was the Murphy one for Newcastle against Palace, where he's just like from such the tight angle. And I know like I think there was a Sandro Tonali had done it like the week before, and that one felt very much more like a cross that he'd mishit. But the Murphy one, I think he absolutely pelts it at the goal, and Henderson's just got no chance.
See, that I looked at those two and I went for the Tonali one more because
Oh,
I'm
really?
yeah, because the way I look at goal of the season, like best goals, it's like how much at fault is the keeper for some of these goals, and I put a lot of Henderson just like not being aware
Mm.
enough of that shot, and it was just like straight past him, and also just trying to put that day in the back of my head forever. But no, yeah, that's definitely one up there for me as well. I think there was a couple of crazy volleys as well I'd like to talk about. There was the Embuemo volley against Spurs. Have you seen that one where it's like the ball comes in and he like takes it on the side volley, and
Yeah, like
it's
front post.
yeah, it's almost a little. It doesn't drop as high, but it's almost like that Zidane one for Juve, like the angle of his body when he hits the ball. But then I think my favourite volley out of all of them was the James Justin one against Arsenal to make it 2-2. I think it was.
Yeah, that was really nice. Like hit it with like the outside of his boot and it starts like curling from so far outside of the goal, but it's got so much spin on it that it comes in. And yeah, that was super impressive. And again, probably like very unique goal that we saw this season, even though
Yeah.
there were a couple of like volleys that were similar, like none of them had that spin on it.
I think what helps that one as well is the camera angle, like for it is perfect as well, where it just like go through and in.
Hmm.
Yeah. What other ones stood
100%.
out for you?
There's a couple that were like the down to the player receiving the ball and then making like a turn and then finishing. So one for Ipswich fans, Jens Kajus, probably butchering that surname, but he took it and then like did like like a spin, almost similar to like the turn that Bergkamp did back in the day against Newcastle. That like take it like one touch and then like go with the ball, and then but Kajus almost like he chips the goalkeeper almost like it's like a looping effort rather than like a curling sort of one. So I think that was really impressive. And then Matoma against Chelsea for Brighton, like he sort of received it quite far out, like towards like the left channel, and then like but he turns the defender and then he's able to just like slot it into the goal. It's quite like a little bit like a low key effort, but the sort of move that led to the finish was really impressive.
Yeah,
And
it's the way he
then
takes the ball down, isn't it? It's like that Suarez one
yeah,
where he drops it down and goes through, which I don't know
and
why.
that
Like that Suarez one to me always stands out as being like the best one that's ever been done of that. So that's why I look at the Matoma one, probably biased because I'm Palace as well. But I look at the Matoma one, I'm not as impressed because it's like it's not as good as that Suarez one, but it's still so hard to do that technique. So yeah, it was still a fucking great goal.
Yeah, it's that first touch, and another one with the first touch that does the defender is Isaac's one for Newcastle against
Yeah,
Liverpool, where like he's up against Van Dijk, and the way he receives the ball absolutely does Van Dijk, and like and it opens up enough space for him, and then he absolutely pelts it past Kelleher. The only thing I would say like negative about that is it's not top bins like Kelleher. It's like it's within his sort of reach, but I think he's
yeah,
just hit it so hard that it's gone like flying past him. So it's
that's it,
kind of
isn't it?
like I don't want to. I feel a bit bad being like, oh, maybe the keeper could have saved it, but like because it wasn't right in the corner, but he's hit it ferociously. So I wouldn't like to be in goal facing that shot. Let's say that.
No, 100%. Okay, I think so. Looking at our two lists, I think we've got two left, and they're both this. Are they both the same two? Yeah, they're both the same two as well. I think, which is crazy. So I'm gonna have you said your number one yet or not?
No, no.
Look, okay, I'm gonna say mine. I'm gonna say what I want my number one to be, but I'm gonna say what my actual number one is. My number one, I want to be the Mateta chip against Arsenal because that night was just too good. But I think the John Durango versus Everton is too good to ignore.
Interesting, because when I was thinking about it earlier, I was maybe it was just because I was like, because of from a West Ham point of view, I was honestly just how gutting it was. But the Belieber one against us,
You believe
like
one's better.
he's absolutely pelted it, and I think it was like 95th minute or something, and it was a winner, and like it just like it was so gut wrenching. But that might just be me from a fan point of view, being like, oh, at least it will be goal of the season.
Well,
I don't think it is actually goal of the season, but I think it's that I had to say I had to talk about that one. I know you briefly mentioned it,
yeah.
but but if I'm probably going to go Harry Wilson. I
You
think
going
it's the
Harry
most,
Wilson?
yeah, I think it's the most unique of the goals. I think even John Duran's like, it's really impressive because he's how far he is out, how
Yeah,
hard he's hit it, and like how like he absolutely beats Pickford. Like it's proper, that is proper top bins.
yeah. I think the
But
top bins got me on
you
that
know,
one big
he's just
time.
kind of smashed it. Like,
Yeah, but to be fair, it's also once again, it's probably the camera angle at Villa Park that makes it look so much more epic. Do you know what I mean? Like it looks like he's
definitely.
fucking thunder cunted it from like 40 yards out. It's like broken the back. Do you know? Remember FIFA Street where you got game breakers? It felt like that where the fucking ball was like on fire or something going to that. Oh no!
Nice.
If
So
you
you going with John Duran?
no, if you're going Harry Wilson, I'm going to go Harry Wilson as well because, like you say, that has a
All right.
unique goal. It's that one that make you go ooh, like a little bit. You know, what I mean, if you're
Yeah.
like at a rave, it would give you like the stank face when it when it went in.
There we go.
Um,
Harry Wilson gave us the stank face for goal of the season.
oh, I love it. Cool. Okay. Should we move on to young player of the season then? This one
Yes.
no, this isn't the one I struggled with. I struggled with one a little bit later to come on to. But yeah, who you have a much longer list than me. I can see from a note. So let me maybe start with like
Yeah, so
think
just to clarify, young player of the season, we've called it as under 21 at the start of the season. So when the season started, were they 20 years or younger? Because the other awards where they give out young player of the season to someone who's 25 are absolutely ridiculous. Like, so
yeah.
we've called it proper young player of the season, under 21 at the start of the season. Go for it.
Cool. Okay, so for me, obvious one, Bournemouth, Dean Howson. Like he can't like not be mentioned, I guess. Like he had a
100%.
big season with it. Duran and Villa as well had on my list. Like good half of the season, I guess, before he went off to Saudi. So yeah,
Yeah,
as we
I mean,
mentioned.
I'm hoping John Duran comes back with a West Ham shirt on this summer. We'll see. But yeah, 100% he needs to be in the list. Dean Huijsen is probably like the name on this list. Like I think for like for what he did for Bournemouth at such a young age and how accomplished he looked was so impressive. Like, but there's loads. I think there's quite a few other names that I want to mention. Like, I go back to Brighton and both of their central midfielders, Carlos Baliba and Yassine Ayari, I think were really accomplished for how young they are. Especially Baliba. I think Ayari had a good season, but maybe like was a little bit like more in and out, whereas Baliba looks absolutely like he's taken that Caicedo role completely and run with it, and like he's looking like another incredible talent.
Well, that's it. Like we talked at the very beginning, like Brighton are finding those players, signing them, and then fitting them into that system perfectly. So yeah, it's crazy how young that team's going to be, and it can only get better now. They're probably going to lose Lewis Dunk.
Yeah,
Had to get
100%.
in.
Another Brighton member I wanted to give a shout out to was Jack Hinshelwood. Like I thought his end of the season was really impressive. Like he started pitching up with some goals at the end of the season, and he's always a hard working player. So thought I'd mention him. One of Huijsen's teammate Milos Kerkez as well. Like we talked about him quite a bit in the great left back debate that we had around the team of the season,
The
and
great.
like the great left back debate. Yeah, he had an excellent season, and for a player so young, like really impressive that he was able to do that. A couple from relegated teams that sort of stood out for their teams. Bilal El Khanous for Leicester.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't realize he was so young. Actually, like
yeah,
he's definitely a talent. Like you, I think you said in the final episode of the regular season was basically like if he can get it going in the championship, he's going to be like a good player for Prem side to hopefully pick up at that age as well.
yeah, there's no reason why a year in the championship he can't absolutely kill it there. And Mateus Fernandes as well, like someone who's come over from Sporting and went to Southampton and was easily their best player in my opinion. Like he was the only one that I really looked at on a weekly basis and thought that's a Premier League level player.
Yeah,
All of the rest of them I thought were were very hit and miss. Yeah, Adam Wharton,
I
I've
mean,
put
he missed.
on the list. Like he missed quite a bit of the season, but
Yeah, that's the thing. If a lot of Palace fans were like obviously upset he missed most of the season, but then like because he missed most of the season, we're probably going to keep him for another season, which is good. I think the cat's coming out of the box with Adam Wharton quite quickly. Like he's probably going to be an England international for a very long time once it gets going. Like touch wood, he doesn't have any serious injuries because like the injury he got wasn't even a serious one; it was like a very obscure one. But yeah, I don't think he can be close being called young player of the season, but yeah, next year probably he could be in that bracket or could be like ended up at Man City at fucking January. Will you watch? It'll be something stupid like that. But no,
yeah. And then a couple other quick names to mention: Ollie Scholes at West Ham. Like Graham Potter came in and really trusted Ollie Scholes, and I'm really hoping that he sort of blends him in a bit more next season, gives him a few more games, and we see a bit of progression there. And then also Tyler Dibling of Southampton.
how can
Like,
he be on your list when you said he wasn't that good? You said he was getting overrated most of the
I mean, I
season.
think well, that's because I don't think he's worth £100 million right now. But
Yeah,
I think like he had a decent impact, and earlier in the season he was a little bit better. When I saw him towards the later part of the season, I thought he's okay, but he still has a lot of experience needed. But he's still worth a mention. But so
this is
no, who's your player for young player of the season?
it's, yeah, Dean House, and it's got to be like I said at the beginning. I can't really not give it to him. There's no one else on that list for me that I'm just there like, yeah, they had the better season. Do you know what I mean?
I would probably put Carlos Baliba maybe a very, very close second, but
Yeah.
it's hard to argue with Dean Howson for young player of the season there. So
No.
we should give it to him.
Yeah, I feel like we're maybe copping out a bit there, but like, what else can you do? What else can you do? He's gone Real Madrid for fuck's sake.
It's
Yeah,
pretty impressive for a young player.
nice. So should we go to the other end of the spectrum then and go for veteran of the season?
Yep, the old guys. So
Well,
the qualification for this is they finished the season 35 years of age or older. So there's only a few that I would actually put down on this list, but there aren't that many in the
mate, there were
list.
only a few to put down,
Yeah,
not
I
one.
know.
I looked at
But
it and I was like,
once you take the top 60 players out, there's a few of those that went. It's like, oh, this is actually a pretty short list.
I was like, oh, this is an easy one to go for. But I was like, I'm not sure any of these had the best season ever. I let's from your looking at your list, it's pretty much exactly the same as mine because it's the same fucking players to
Yeah,
choose
it's the
from.
same list.
Should we work from left to right? Because I feel like who's at the top of your list is probably the person that we should give
All
it
right, well,
to.
let me just give let me get my West Hamness out of the way. Lucas
Oh, it's
Fabianski,
Aaron.
like,
Okay, Fabianski. Yes, he was actually he was my like number one, I think, for
oh,
non-sentimental
really?
reasons. Yeah, but the fact you're about to say Aaron Creswell, you can you can put that away because I want to.
He played like 18 games this season. There aren't that like the veteran of the seasons. They didn't play that many games. Like Fabianski played less
I,
in the
w-
Premier
I
League
want Joe Ward on this
than
list
Aaron
now.
Creswell did. No, I actually saw Joel Ward and I was like, no, you played twice. You're not coming on this list. Like that was like the only player that I could disqualify from.
Did he lose any of the games he played? No, so he go into the list as well. Nah,
Did he even play like 20 minutes of the second one?
mate, no, he came on for the last 10 minutes against Brighton. Who
Yeah.
he every game he's played for Brighton, he's never lost.
All right, Brett.
Oh,
Yeah, anyway,
God.
Fabianski and Creswell, love you old guys.
Yeah,
But you're off. Ashley Young was okay for Everton this season, I think. Like I think he's pretty past it now and is more
yeah.
like just a break glass in case of emergency, like fill in if they need someone. But yeah, I think the so that leaves us with two players. One is his Everton teammate Idrissa Gueye, who I think deserves a shout. Like he was the same old Idrissa Gueye. It felt like tackling monster, like defense, like all across the defense, like in front of them, just like running about everywhere.
I just can't get over that he was 35 when I saw it. In all honesty, like it makes sense because he's been there like for so long. And was he at PSG before? Was that where he was at? Am I
Yeah,
making
he
it
went
up?
off to yeah, he was at Everton, went off to PSG for a few seasons, and then
Yeah,
came back to Everton as if I remember right.
but he just feels like he's been a stonewall in that like midfield for ages. Like, so yeah, he's just not dropping with age, and it's going to be. interesting. I don't know if he was one of the players out of contract, but if him and Decore are both out of
I believe he
contract, that's like,
was.
geez, that's a complete rebuild in your midfield, isn't it, for Everton?
Yeah, which you might think you need the legs of that, like given he's that age, but he was doing it for Everton like at a high level this season. So wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised if they brought him back. But yeah, who's the? I think everyone knows the name of the other one that we'll be mentioning.
Yeah, so Jamie Vardy, I feel like for me this was more sentimental than actually what he did in the whole season. I mean, he still banged in a few goals, but it wasn't Jamie Vardy that we've all known to bang goals and be a shithouse, really, was he? He's that level, but
No, he tried, but in a struggling team, I don't think it was Jamie vintage. I don't think it was vintage Jamie Vardy necessarily, but he still got, as you say, he still got a few goals. Like he led the line as best as he could at his old age, and he had that crowning moment at the end of the season at home where he got his 200th Leicester goal, and I think he gave a valiant effort this year. But my nominee out of these would be Idris Gueye.
yeah, do you know what? Should we do the right thing rather than a sentimental thing for once and give it to Itriske? Yeah, I'm happy to agree with you on that one. Cool. Okay, should we take a break and dust ourselves down with a wet flannel because it is boiling where I am.
Yeah, let's go soak ourselves in cold water.
Cool. Okay, catch you all in a sec. Okay, and we're back with our third part for the awards this season. Cool. So, moving into our flop of the season. So, yeah, Tom, do you just want to explain what we mean by flop of the season?
Yeah, anyone who disappointed, someone who you thought might be all right, or they might set the world alight, that, or who just came in and just made an absolute arse of it this season. Really, just some like I think the place to start is all of Southampton Football Club,
Hey,
as harsh as that is.
I think, yeah, it's harsh, but yeah, I guess I agree with you. I kind of had it a bit broader. I had all three promoted sides, but that might
Oof.
have been a bit harsh on Ipswich. I'm thinking about it, but yeah, I think Southampton. You're right. They just had a absolute shitter from beginning to end, and then the managerial situation we talked about it actually, didn't we? Where I didn't think it made much sense bringing Juric in, where it was just like he's not going to really keep you up, and he's not going to be staying after you go down. Like, what is this move?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've got him separated as well as one of the players as like, all right, if we're not going to say the whole of Southampton FC, then even Juric has definitely got to be in the list as well because I think he came in with like a bit of attitude that he was going to do something at Southampton, and honestly, it was worse than Russell Martin. Like, I don't think he picked up as many points as Russell Martin did, and like the football was just like he was. It looked like he was trying to get them to play a style of football that just none of them were ready for. Like none of the players were suitable for or like had prepared for, and trying to change so many things mid-season, it went horribly wrong for Juric.
Yeah, 100%. I think like when you're in that bad a state, if you're bringing a manager in, or again, you either stick with your manager and you're like, cool, we're going to play out this way, go down next year, rebuild, come back with the same manager, hopefully again, and be stronger and know what's going to happen. Or you get the firefighter and just fight for your life and stay up and then rebuild if you do stay up. So yeah, it was just a rogue decision for me.
Yeah.
I'm
Player
trying to,
wise for Southampton, I've gone for Aaron Ramsdale. I think like he came in for 20 mil, I think it was, and like he'd been at Arsenal. Like say what you want to about Ramsdale. Like I don't think he's a top level goalkeeper, but he's had experience at this level, and I just don't think he did anything to help Southampton's situation. Like I think he played them into trouble at times, and like that might have been instructions, but I do also think it's a bit of Ramsdale's game.
yeah, I think, yeah, I'd agree with you, but I was in some of the research for this episode, I was actually looking at it, and a few Southampton fans said like he was probably a bit of a standout for them. There may be just one or two very wrong Southampton fans, but they were like he kept them in some games, and I was like, did he really? From what I
Is,
saw, he
it-
did.
is that like what we were talking about in Team of the Season with goalkeepers, where it's like he's making loads of saves because he's facing 20, 30 shots a
Yeah,
game?
that's
Like
exactly.
it might seem that way at times because like the shots might not be that good, so it looks like he's keeping them in things. But like, yeah, I just don't think Aaron Ramsdale did anything for Southampton this year.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you on that one. He definitely was in my head, but I was like, am I doing it because I'm being a bit like of a dick because of his Arsenal time? Because like I didn't mind him before he went to Arsenal, but he went to Arsenal, and then you got to deal with like all people that support Arsenal. It's like I hate him now for some reason, but I feel for him because
Yeah,
he's what that's his third relegation now. Was it Sheffield,
Sheffield,
um,
Bournemouth,
Bournemouth,
and
and Southampton? Bad times, bad times. You got anyone else from Southampton you want to call out whilst you're at it?
nah, I think I've digged on Southampton enough for that.
Okay, I got a couple of players. I've got Smith Rowe, I think, could maybe be seen as a bit of a flop for Fulham. I think he probably just didn't put out as much as an Iwobi did, or just as much as probably was expected for him for his price tag as well. Like, I think when everyone saw that transfer, especially well, when I saw that transfer, I saw him going, I was like, kind of makes sense. Like, could rebuild his career there. Not, I didn't think his career was in tatters, but it's just like this might be a good platform to play football non-stop, and it just didn't really come to fruition.
Yeah, he flashed a couple of times that he looked all like he was putting it together for Fulham. Like looked good in a few games, but over the course of a 30-year game season, definitely didn't do enough to warrant like his transfer fee and such. So I think he definitely sort of let the side down a little bit there, and they would have expected more from him. And like I think at the end of the day, they were probably better playing Andreas Pereira and Alex Iwobi at certain times than, and that's not what you would have expected given some of Smith Rowe's history. But again, I was kind of glad that he didn't come to West Ham. Like maybe he'll put it together someday, but don't know. Time's running out for me on the Smith Rowe front.
Yeah, exactly the same. I've got another player which is probably low hanging fruit, Calvin Phillips at Ipswich. I just don't think he maybe had like a spatter of games where he did quite well and maybe showed what he could do, but he's fucked it by going
I
to
don't want
City
to. I
really.
don't want to talk about Calvin Phillips after his abysmal loan spell at West Ham last season. After I backed him to do pretty well with us, I don't want to talk about Calvin Phillips at all. So I'm going to move the conversation on to another player, Fabio Carvalho at Brentford. Where was he? Like
Um,
I don't think he did anything.
he didn't need to do anything for him though, did he? That's the thing. Like,
Well, he didn't get a sniff it. Like he
yeah.
definitely was getting games, especially earlier in the season, because Schade came on as the season went along. But
Mm.
they gave Fabio Carvalho, who was a very highly touted signing, and he did nothing. I think he's at a really important crossroads in his career now. Like he needs to either go and find a place where he can rebuild because it's been talented youngster for a few years, but nothing more than that really since his Fulham days.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because if he stays and they lose in Burmo, it's going to be a major
Can he
drop
step
off.
up? Like,
No, I don't think he can. That's the problem. Like,
yeah,
it's stepping up to like a fucking 12 goals a season striker. It's not stepping up to a 20 goal a season striker, is there? Like, yeah, and he's going to get like, I mean, maybe Brentford fans won't, but you could see like, again, turned on him quite quickly by the fans if he's not living up to what it should be. But yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking to cut ties and recoup some money for him and move on because
yeah,
they probably don't feel confident about him stepping into Mbeumo's shoes or filling any of the roles across that front three right now. So yeah, I think Carvalho definitely deserves a mention on that list. And then another one that I'll quickly mention, Oliver Skipp, who went to Leicester and from like Tottenham, and I remember having to deal with bloody Tottenham fans telling me that he was better than Declan Rice years ago, and just embarrassing. Like, Oliver Skipp did absolutely nothing for Leicester this year, and they really needed him to as well. Like he was one of their experienced Premier League signings. They really needed him to come in and settle the team at that level, and he just disappeared as a
no,
ghost for the season.
100%. I remember him signing for them, and I was like, I think he's linked with us just before, and I was like, meh. Like,
No, please.
nah. I've got another one. I've got anything to do with West Ham United after the 2-0 victory at Selhurst Park. That's, I've got as my flop of the season.
Yeah, West Ham United, absolutely. Oh my God, we spent so much time talking last summer, being like, oh, we've done really good signings. Like I had Fulkrug on my list as just like as a flop of the season, and I felt it was harsh.
That's
I felt it
well
was harsh
much
because
more.
he looked really good when he played, but
Yeah,
he just like it's more the signing of Nicholas Füllkrug than actually like Füllkrug himself
I
was why I put it on
was.
here because like we signed a 30-year-old 30-plus-year-old striker for 30-ish mil, and we had two 30-plus-year-old strikers already on the books. It was no surprise that they all got injured at certain times, or like they weren't all reliable. Like, come on, it's bad, it's terrible team planning.
I'm not gonna lie. When you signed him, I was like, "This is it. This is going to be the striker that finally clicks for him." Because he was doing well. Like, don't get. There's a reason you bought him for that money, but it's just they're like
Yeah.
he gives a clearly gives a shit as well, which I think's
I
important.
love Füllkrug as a person and
Yeah,
like and even as a player, like given my Dortmund ties as well. But yeah, the signing of Nicholas Füllkrug just blew up in West Ham's face and was a real just like sum up of our season as well. Like expensive players didn't do anything as a team. So yeah, who are we
well,
calling
no,
this one?
I've
Oh,
got
you got four.
no, I've got my number one, and I've got the one
Okay.
person that can only be our flop slash wanker of the season, and it's Mr. Samuel Barrett. I feel like he has to be our flop or wanker of the season. I know I'm slightly sidestepping it, but that man has put us through hell this year. So
Yeah,
if you,
no, it's a great shout. It's a great shout. Let's dig on Mr. Samuel Barrett. Like that is a great shout. Like the refereeing performances of a 5-year-old.
mate, I love
Like
how I was complaining about him, and you're like, you've got to stop going on about refs. And then it was like 2 weeks later, you're like, that's it, he's done it. I'm having a fucking go.
he's done it to me now, so I'm on board the ref ban like train.
Oh my God, I just can't see how he revs in the Premier League next year. There's got to be better officials out there. There just has to be like so many bad decisions. He lost control of so many games. Started the season by disallowing a perfectly good Eberechi's ago that then put us in like a bad stead for the pretty much the next 9 games. Every time he came to Selhurst Park, you're just seeing him getting surrounded by players or just like losing his fucking mind, not using his linesman to make decisions either. Like linesman's there waving and he's not fucking doing anything. You know, like what are you doing, man? Like this is fucking so easy for you. But I do like ragging on refs. I think we all do, but also like there's a different level of like ragging on a ref because they made a bad decision or just knowing that they're completely shit at what they're doing. And yeah,
Yeah,
he'd be my flop of the season.
100% flop of the season. Referee Sam Barrett.
Mate. I can't wait to make that graphic. Oh, cool. Okay, so after those rants, let's go into signing of the season. So yeah, I think we've got quite a few for signing of the season. For you, who really like, who maybe stood out for you quite a bit.
Well, apart from Wan-Bissaka, who was absolutely signing of the season for West Ham, like a shining light in an awful season for us. I think the couple of Wolves players I want to mention, Strand Larson was a really good signing.
Yeah,
Like
he's on
we
my list.
sort of spoke about him a bit. Like they got him on loan from Celta Vigo, and as soon as he started banging in the goals, once Pereira turned up in charge, like they made that permanent, and he looks like the answer to Wolves' striker struggles in recent years, where they've been trying to look for the Raul Jimenez sort of replacement. And yeah, I think Strand Larsen's got loads of ability, and he can definitely do that. And then the other Wolves player I've got is Andre, who they signed and partnered really well with João Gomes in midfield. Like Andre is an absolute bulldog, like terrier. Like the during that run of wins, he was such a standout for Wolves. Like everything, like he was doing everything. Like him and Gomez in the system, they have to go forward and back quite a lot. Like they have to run a lot of miles, and Andre was an absolute standout at doing so. So those are a couple of Wolves players that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Strand Larson was on my list for sure. He's pretty high up there for me as well, in all honesty. Other ones I have on my list, I had I think probably maybe my number one, but this is one of the first times I'm gonna be quite biased. It's gonna be Sarr for us. Like he he didn't have a preseason at Marseille before coming to us because he's getting frozen out of the team. So he took a few games to get into it, but once he got into it, my God, like he was direct, his goals, assists, just everything. Like he, this is gonna sound dreadful, but he was like Wilfred Zaha without like the flair. He was just like, I'm going to get this ball. I'm going to run directly at the goal. I'm going to shoot, and most likely I'm going to score. And it's just like his electric pace is it's just like I wish we'd got him when we were trying to get him from Watford all those years ago. Because if he had been in that team with Wilf, my God, we would have been terrifying to. Well, I would say we'd been terrifying to play against, but Roy would have had them both like sitting back the whole time. So probably would have been that terrifying. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely has made us all worth a mention. Like, I think one thing I'll touch on to add to that is that he filled the boots of Michael Olise so well. Like,
yeah,
very different player, but like that really could have derailed Palace and probably did at the start of the season, but they managed to recover, and Sarr was a really big part of that. Like, they blended the team, like changed things up a little bit to suit Sarr a bit more than they had done when they were accommodating Elise. But to fill those boots in a different way, it's really impressive. So definitely he's definitely up there for me. But someone else that I mean, we've got to mention Dean Huijsen again
yeah.
because
I
like
did want to.
they did sign him for like 20 mil, I think, and they sold him for 50. So like as a quick turnaround and what he did on the pitch, like like it's perfect for what Bournemouth are trying to do as with the system. But
Exactly.
we've talked about Huijsen a lot.
He was on my list, and I did want to bring him up again because I feel like I might just be in a broken record about him. But yeah, he's definitely up there for me as well. Looking at your list, you got quite a few players on there. I think one that's really stood out for me, Evan Nilsson. Like you're right there, he was brilliant. So I mean, he came maybe took a bit of time to bloom, but like definitely a great player for Bournemouth over the season.
Yeah, I think stepping into Dominic Solanke's shoes, who's led the line for Bournemouth for so many years and got better and better, and they really needed like a quality signing. They couldn't like the team, as we saw, was built pretty well this year, and they needed someone to slot in at that like as a replacement. And Evan Nilsson took a few weeks to settle, but by the end of the season, I think like he looked really comfortable for Bournemouth, and definitely sort of worth a mention as signing of the season. I think similar to Sarr, Ildman and for Everton deserves a shout out, especially for like how good he looked under David Moyes, especially like, but probably one of those that it was a bit more of a little bit of spell rather than like over the course of the season. And then yeah, a couple of Forest players worth mentioning, Elliot Anderson and Nikola Milenkovic, I think
I didn't
definitely deserve to be
realize.
in there.
I didn't realize they came in this season. I thought Milinkovic had been there longer. Jesus, that's
No, he'd
mental.
been at Fiorentina for years before that, and then yeah, made the move to the City ground last summer.
That's unbelievable. And then Anderson, like, geez, he had a great season that midfield for him. Like the way you've heard, I think Alan Shearer's like wax lyrical about him non-stop because he was obviously at Newcastle before, but like you can't deny what he
Yeah,
was doing there the whole time. Like absolute
yeah, he
player.
was really impressive. And then the last one I want to mention, Liam Delap. Like I know he's left Ipswich now, but he came in and did really well for obviously a relegated team who were struggling at times and got them double digit goals. Like definitely worth a mention, I think. But
Yeah, he
who are
was.
you going for? Are you going bias?
I don't know. Now you put Liam Delap there, like. I'm just thinking, like, when I saw him live against us, I was like, Jesus, that is a complete forward right there. And I was like, I'd love to have him. But maybe Mikovancic, actually. No. I'm gonna go. Do you think Strand Larson put enough of a season together to be signing of the season?
No, my number one would probably be Nikola Milenkovic because I think he was very close to getting into our team of the season, and I also think that again, similar to what I was talking about with Isaac earlier, like he was a massive part of Forest getting European football next year. Like I don't think Forest would have been able to do that if they hadn't signed him. Like the players that they had there around Murillo were okay, but I think Milenkovic really raised that level. So and it was a really cheap fee, I think. But
Yeah.
so I think I'm going Milenkovic.
Done. I agree with you. Like I said, I didn't even realize he was a side in this season. So yeah, done. Here's locked in. Cool. Okay. Should we move on to our shithouse shithousery moment of the season?
Yeah, I've got two. I've got one for Ilman and Dai, who we just mentioned. little bit of a shit house this, but against Brighton after he scored, he did the seagull celebration. And I think the reason why I wanted to mention this was just because of like some of the controversy that like happened after, and there was like really sort of like clutch your pearls, like, oh, he got booked for it, like for that celebration, and then people were like talking after, like loads of pundits saying like, oh, we shouldn't be allowed, like it shouldn't. I was like, no, no, we need much more of that. That was a
It's
light touch.
it's mad because when Vardy did that against us and he did the eagle, like it was like no yellow card, and fans like, oh, it's funny because it's Jamie
Yeah.
Vardy. It's just like, why does one get away with it, and not the other? I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't want to mention that one because I've probably been biased enough as it fucking is. But like I remember seeing that one, and me and my mate were like, sign him now, give him whatever money he wants to bring him that man's palace.
Definitely. And then my other one was Jamie Vardy showing Tottenham how many titles he's won versus them. So he's like, I think he's either just scored or like something's just happened, and he's like in the middle of the pitch and he just points to the Premier League badge and then put his fingers up, one finger up in the air, and then he points to the crowd and he puts a zero up in the air, and he's just like, and that's my vote for it because it's against Tottenham. So I'm here for vintage Vardy shithousery.
Yeah, I've got another Vardy shithousery as well on my list. The one where I think it's Jordan Ayew who knocks out the referee by accident, and then Vardy picks up the whistle and starts blowing to stop play. Like it's nice
That
he
was
gave
good.
us. Yeah, it's nice he gave us those moments towards the end of the season as well. But yeah, one other one I just had was Dean Henderson at full time after the FA Cup final, basically telling Pep that he had us 10 minutes and he can fuck off. That was-
Yeah, you had to mention that, but it was good shithousery from Henderson.
Yeah, I will happily give it to either Ndiaye for that one because I feel like it's the biggest piece of shithousery, or Vardy for the two over the season.
Let's give it to Vardy
Yeah,
because we all hate Tottenham. So
oh, love it. Cool. Okay, limbs of the season. I mean, for me, I think we all know what this one's going to be. So,
I think we've got it nailed on, both of us here. It's Everton 2, Liverpool 2.
mate, I'm not gonna lie, that was a good one. But my limbs of the season, obviously, FA Cup final. I will just say that I probably mentioned it enough already. Those limbs, those moments will live in my life forever. Like it was amazing. I don't think I've ever seen Wembley like it before. But yeah, the absolute scenes at Goodison Park that evening was one of those things where I've been lucky enough to be there for an evening like that where we were 2-0 up at half time and Everton were all, well, they're relegated in that moment. And then to come back and beat us 3-2, I know how crazy Goodison Park can be. I know, like, those fans are probably some of the loudest and best in the league. That stadium is everything. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, 96th minute equaliser, Goodison Park evening game, like Merseyside derby, and even had a VAR check that was then cleared, and the limbs just continued
mate,
throughout that. And
the only thing that could have been better, and like if probably good it wasn't, if that was a winner for Everton, the fucking roof would have literally
oh,
come off. Like that place would have been ripped. It would have been
they wouldn't have been able to finish the season because everyone would have torn it all down just in celebration. Like,
literally that. Like even the game I went to, like my mate was in the second tier, down at the end, and he like jumped down the tier to get into the bottom to go into the pitch. So fuck knows what they were doing that evening.
Christ.
Like, oh my
All
god.
right, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to Palace because those were unreal scenes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I won't go on about it anymore, but like that's just like I'm sad enough that I got like the one of the past photographers like brought out a book for it and it just arrived today and I was there like just looking for it like, oh, this is so sad, but I love it so much.
Your memorabilia must be reaching like the 20, 30 like individual items now.
No, mate, the saddest thing is like I'm getting targeted for absolute crap online as well. It's
100%.
literally like any crap and it has like a Palace badge on it. It's like, you definitely want this. And I'm
I'm
like,
gonna open an Etsy store and just put Palace on it and just like feed the ads to you.
it's literally that. Oh no, but I think that brings us to the end of all our awards for the season, doesn't it?
It
Yeah.
does.
I think it's been a pretty fun season all round. I think we're going to take what a little bit of a break for a bit now, maybe, and then come back with maybe hopefully a few special guests on from different teams around the league and see how they felt about their season and what they're looking forward to next season. But yeah, if anyone would like to be part of that, feel free to get in contact with us on our socials at Instagram, TikTok, Blue Skies, Reddit, at Other14FC Podcast, or email in at other14podcast@gmail.com. But yeah, apart from that, I'll probably see you in, a couple of weeks maybe? I don't think we'll take too big a break, will we?
Yeah, let's have a little break and then we'll start looking towards next season. But just before we go, just want to say please do rate and review the podcast. It'll really help us grow, and tell your friends that they want to listen to us chat
Yeah.
shit.
Everyone wants to listen to two fat, balding men with beards talk shite about dreadful football clubs.
Currently melting in the sun.
Yeah, that's literally it. Like, I feel my brain's completely gone now. Cool. Okay, mate. I'll catch you on the other side.
Nice one. Cheers, mate.